But I got both of his abilities out. I ended up dying for it, but definitely makes his life a little bit more difficult going into the next phase. So I know that I haven't really spent too much focus on some of the concepts that I'm talking about right now, but that's because I'm really not trying to talk about them here. I'm gonna make a video and actually discuss it. But yeah, I don't know. You maybe listen to like what we were talking about and just think about it a little bit if you play Overwatch, or even if you're just watching. That's kind of why I did a couple days of just no mic, just nothing. You know, just. I put up two videos on YouTube that are just pure gameplay for about 30 minutes each, and I just a couple different roles that are there, and I did it with the intention of trying to give my audience just the visuals to see what I was talking about. And so the next thing for me is really to go ahead and make
Enemies detected.
an overhead video about what I'm talking about.
You're powered up. Get in there.
See how this angle is effective like that? Like my teammates hiding in the corner weren't really putting any pressure to them, but I was able to get a clean sleep dart, stop this guy from making any type of line of sight towards the point, and give my hog a nice clean way to pressure the enemy team and separate them from the point. If you lose the fight that's in that little cave thing, they just walk onto the point. If you lose it out here out front, there's still space for your team to recover that and do a lot. Yeah.
It's hand.
This is going to be okay. You're powered up. Get in there.
I don't know if you noticed that sleep dart, but basically it was going to hit. There's a high chance it was going to hit one of those two targets just based on angle alone. I'd like to go in here and start just drawing positions of strength and why it causes that or how it works. And then also things that you would have to. Oh man, that's buggy. It does not like that color. Oh, maybe you can only pick certain colors now. I don't know. Like what you would have to look out for, just start drawing around on this kind of stuff and just place some of these characters. Things like this. You can. The thing is that the game is ever evolving when you're playing, so you're gonna have to reposition and move around often, but you can even do something like this. I think that's pretty strong. Brigetta hog, and then you still need one DPS. You could even do a Doomfist would be interesting on this type of thing because you have this high ground to keep bouncing off up and on to, but or a McCree if you like or whatever, but or even a Torb if you wanted to. Put a Torb turret back there. Where if I can ever find his face, oh here he is. You can put that there instead. And that right there is a pretty strong setup for Temple of Anubis in terms of initial positioning and stuff like that. There's just a lot of ways that you can handle this. So this would be your team. Hopefully this helps. I'm gonna try to zoom in as much as I can. You guys will recognize this map. I'm gonna try to show it this way. Maybe you recognize it more from the spawn point. You come out the door. You know, you do this. A lot of teams like snake their way in through here, and then they try to get through here. This is really designed as a flank, not to spend your whole team in. What you really want to do is get your team in through here, and find a way to get in this section, to get underneath or up and above, which would be even more ideal. But taking the low ground of this house would be a little checkpoint for you. You know, you can regroup and reestablish what's going on. And from there, you can do things like put a player onto the point just to start the tick, to cause players up top to have to react. You know, like maybe they have to send their Roadhog down or whatever. You know, in some ways. And the other idea or goal behind this is that you would, based on how the enemy team is reacting, like let's say this is what's craziest. So like I don't just have strategies for this. I have like counter strategies for the counter strategies that I'm, you know. And so a team goes in here, they take like the low ground, the repositioning, they get, let's just say, someone who's not going to die right away. Like let's just go with an easy example. I'm trying to find. Here she is, Diva. You managed to get an enemy Diva onto the point right here. And let's just where's Monkey? Here. Put him in here so you kind of get what I'm talking about. The rest of the team's in here, Lucio in here, whatever you want to do. Like maybe you're running a dive composition because that would make sense against what they're rocking. And let's go with this now. 2 healers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's just say this is like what's going on in the game. You've made it this far. You've gotten your team into this, and they're underneath. They're not high ground. So the Diva starts to touch point just to force a reaction out of the enemy team. That would be the first thing that you want to do in this situation. She's your off tank. You know, you could even do it with Lucio if you wanted, both of them, but that's like a little bit more risk. You could have your Mercy ready to heal, your Lucio ready to heal right here, and they're all just kind of grouped up, ready to make a reaction. So what you would do here is the enemy team would have to respond to this, and they would respond to it by trying to go for like a Roadhog hook off the high ground, so that Roadhog doesn't have to, you know, and then try to burst the Diva. But if she plays this footsie game properly and Roadhog misses the hook, or if Roadhog just isn't that disciplined and just drops, now they've created an opening where a Diva just retreats, and the whole rest of the team just takes the steps, and they just come up, and now they're upstairs, and they get ready for this, you know. Let's just put it in that scenario because that's a little easier to work with. There's so many other things that go on during that transaction or interaction there, but let's just say that this is what happened. Or to make it even easier, they both drop out of panic, you know. Then you've got a situation where you push up here, put a monkey bubble, let these guys come in, and they just dive into here to try to capitalize on this scenario, you know, to get something out of this, to wipe out the Torb turret, to knock the Orisa off, to have Torb have to reposition. Maybe they get to pick on the Ashe, you know, so she's gone, and the Ana, and now they've gotten themselves into a situation where they can now jump down onto the point here. These two are already like they would be forced to play out of this corner now. So maybe Monkey dives there, they go there, and Mercy tries to stay up top as long as she can, you know, and that's just that's like a good way to establish control onto the point, you know, and then they can wipe this and then take the point if they really do it right. There's so many interactions and transactions that go on between getting to this point, but that's the idea of how you would want to achieve it, rather than this little snowball of all 6 people like trying to burst through this little thing and then through there and whatnot. Plus, I forgot to mention that you have this Widowmaker she's going to be looking to capitalize on these rotations. So, you know, when you force the Orisa and the Torb down by having the these guys up here kind of thing. Like, I mean, Lucio himself can just boop them, so it doesn't even have to. You could probably do this and get away with it, but you want to have some damage there. So when let's just say he boops them off, right? The second that he sends Orisa and Torb into this area, this is Widow's go moment to just deal her damage. She hits headshots, they're going down, you know. Hog at that point, if he really could, is trying to jump in front of the Torbjorn or jump in front of these to take body shot damage, but you also have you just have a collapse coming in at that point, and that's the dive composition coming to effect. So, and that's just the easiest way, I think, to not the easiest way, but like if you just look at the routes, that's the way to wipe this team and keep your team healthy and get the point. You take this point that's here, and then you move on to the next checkpoint. It's a 2 CP map, and the strongest, even though you have spawn doors here, the strongest spots on this. I don't know how to get to the draw tools. The strongest angles stem from here. There's a little bit more of like this type of deal. Because it's your spawn, you can control here too, but you pretty much don't want to be in this room whatsoever. It's like your last resort escape kind of thing, or if you're an offensive team, this is a flank. You know, like if you're coming in, if you're like a Genji sneaking in or something like that, you know. But the thing is that most of the time, players try to send like people in solo queue or even pro teams or whatever, they will try to send their whole entire try to sneak their team in here, and you can get to like right here, but the problem is going from here to here while maintaining enough control to take the objective, which the second you turn this corner, you have all of the damage coming in just focused on this one spot, you know, for the most part. So whoever you send through there is just really not going to get anything out of that. That's why it's like really positioned as a flank. And you see that often in this, and that leads back to setting yourself up to winning the team fight before attempting to take the objective. Like, you can play around the objective and toying like on it, like we were talking about over here in the first point, but you want to establish control of the area, like the whole area, you know, and then go for the objective, which is in here. So you do that by coming in. You send your majority of your team in this way. Like, it's very difficult to talk about because there's 6 players, right? So you don't necessarily always need to send all 6 down this route, but you definitely send the bulk. You send your shield. You know, you send the heart of your team, the core of your team, the people that need to be positioned in a great spot, the people that are not flankers, you know, and stuff like that. And even sometimes, depending on the composition, depending on the positioning of the enemy team, it's viable and it's sometimes essential for you to send, you know, a tracer in here too with you, and then maybe a Widowmaker on top or whatever you want to do. But the main point of this is just send the bulk of your team down this way, and that means like 3-4 people of your squad out of the 6 down here, because this is the strength on this whole entire spot. There's also these other things that go on where there's a portion of control that goes down these line of sights here. So I know this starts to get kind of hard to see, but you can kind of get the idea. So basically, if you come in here and you start to own this real estate, and you basically get up to here, and this is like setting up your push, and then your next thing would be able to cross into this threshold here. So it's not even so much about pressuring into this. as it is about pressuring into here. Because you take over this area, you dominate this area, and then you can start to work at the point. Let's just go with you came in here, you got a pick, you start to move in here, you now control this space back here, all this swirly stuff, and really the strongest spot is like right here. And it's kind of crazy because it's so close to the door and stuff like that. But you see me make a lot of plays out of that spot. But what that does too is if you are spawn trapping them here, if they can't get through here because you're already capping the point and they feel that they need to go around, let me just say that it's probably most viable for the enemy team to take the team fight that's here, regain control, and then take the point. But if they wanted to go through the other way, you're forcing them to come through this very narrow point, which you can then focus all of your damage into very easily. You know, Junkrat spam, Bastion if you had it, you know, like whatever this, you could just spray damage into this tiny doorway of a choke point. So that's just some of the basic ideas that I wanted to start to dive into more, and I wanted to break this down for more maps. I myself have to get a little bit better at explaining it and breaking it down and making it easy for other players to digest. It's a complex game because it's 6-on-6, so there's a lot of different interactions that are happening and positional stuff that's going on as you're making these transitions, but I felt it's important to talk about the grand idea first, or the big ideas first, because these seem to be the ones that that such a mass majority of the Overwatch community is just one, not seeing, not getting, just looking over. Somehow it's not translating into their gameplay. And this goes from solo queue to team play to whatever. It's not translating across. So I'm here to try to help just make it be known on some of this stuff. And some of those things would be like, you know, the main tank's role is not to be always in front. It's to be protecting the area of space that you know, protects the heart of the team, where you want to protect the, you know, like this, the real estate that you want. The main tank could be in this area, you know, protecting this kind of stuff, like protecting in here, because that will protect the heart of your team. It'll help protect your Ana. It'll help protect your, you know, your immobile DPS like McCree, you know, from getting picked and all that kind of stuff, while keeping them in a strong spot. And then another one is that that makes the off tank's role really the one to try to touch the point while you have, you know, this. And then these are just like just really vague descriptions, because I'm just trying to get some of the basic ideas across. You know, something like this in the ballpark of here would be, this is strong. You know, if you have to try to break back that point, you send your Roadhog on and you boost him with you know, even if you like, you could sometimes you could run Mercy, and Mercy could, the shield would be in reach, you know. Or if you're not running Mercy and you're running Brigitte, because Ana Brigitte is very good synergetic, you know, there are times where Brigitte is going to want to protect the Ana because she's the heart and soul of the heals. And then there's times like this where if they're breaching out of the point, having a Brigitte in front of your Roadhog like this to start and have them just kind of play leapfrog can really get you a lot of positioning back. There's just so, you know, while you have the Ana just pouring heals into with the Orisa, and this is like how you start to regain control, and then you can start sliding this upward. And I like to get even up here as Orisa, because I want to deny the enemy team from taking this alleyway that we were discussing. So like, you know, shield goes down here, McCree sets up with you, and you can just kind of do this in a scenario where you could easily fall back, you know. And there's so many different variations of moments of strategies and ways that you would reposition or handle stuff. But all I really wanted to discuss in this few minutes that we were talking about it on this one map was really just like some of the bigger ideas of how you want to start looking at things. And I'd like to do this for all the maps. It's just going to take me a second, because you know, you kind of have to go in and explain some of the stuff for each one. But the ideas and principles 100% transfer to every map, every game type, and all the way up to the pro leagues. And so hopefully this kind of starts to create the spark to open up the eye of what you're really looking for when you're playing Overwatch, but also when you're playing other games too, like when you're playing arena shooters or when you're playing even BRs and stuff like that. It's based on, information and based on, that's a whole nother topic that I'd like to go into, but I'm trying to keep this video a little shorter, so for now, just take this and know that I'd like to do this with other maps and explain it. Um, and one thing that I would like to include in this video, and I might put it in the description section or I might put it as a comment, but I'm going to come up with like a list of just a couple of the basic things that I think are like that just help kind of make this idea more concrete, and that would be, some of the things that I was talking about with the tanks and their roles and how their roles come into play, and the idea that you want to own the area before you try to make ownership of the objective, because that's how you're going to ultimately hold it for a longer period of time. A lot of Overwatch players try to take the objective and the team fight at the same time. They are not the same thing. You want to take a winning team fight, set yourself for a success there, and then with that win, while the enemy team is dead or like dying, like that's when you start to make your moves into the objective, and then you don't just all clump on the objective either. You push out and start to take ownership of the areas that are the strongest, like kind of thing, and then wit through that, And with there being 6 players, you don't need all 6 over here, So it's just there's a lot to explain. You could have one person watching the door who could still be on the point, maybe 3 people on the point and 3 people owning this corner. So it's just there's a lot, and I really like Overwatch and I like a lot of games, but I just wanted to take a little time to start to do some more videos like this. So if you like this style content, definitely say something, speak up, and take a second to show it to a friend that you play Overwatch with or something like that. Help me help everyone, because that's just like the goal, right? But at the same time, I know a lot of people are this is very, very, if you're someone who's been playing Overwatch for like a really long time, and then someone comes along and says like, oh, but this is like really how you should do this, there's gonna be a lot of resistance. Like, I've already experienced that a lot, so I'm trying to, it's okay, man. If you listen to all this stuff and you're like, oh, that's nonsense, it's garbage, it's like, if that's what you believe, that's fine, man. You're not who I'm speaking to. But if you're someone who is eager to listen and hear a little bit more about what I have to say and why you'd want to do these things and how they work and how it functions and all that kind of stuff, then you're definitely welcome here, because I think this is the type of content that's really just developed for you. So, I want to create a positive community and one that supports each other and not, tears anyone down or does anything like that. So those are just some of the things that I'm looking to spend some time doing. So yeah, let me know. All right, I'm gonna end this here, and I'll probably I'm gonna put this after one of the gameplays that I had, so that way you have a little bit more. Just make that a video for today. It's gonna be a little bit longer, but the content in there is gonna be good, so it'll be worth it. All right, dude, I don't know where this is coming from, chat, but like we're just kind of like diving in and just getting the stuff that I wanted to do done for a long time. So it's good. It's actually pretty good. It's kind of cool. I think I'm gonna take a break because I just feel like I've mentally reached a checkpoint where I have a gameplay where I'm sitting there talking about what I want to be talking about and playing the game at the same time. Hopefully you can hear me over the gameplay. Like I did raise the volume a little bit, but I think it should be okay. And then we just did this. I really didn't expect to do this right this second, but it just kind of happened. Taylor Prime asked a question in the chat, and it just boom sparked me like opening it up and talking about what I wanted to talk about. So it's just the only thing that I didn't mention in here, but I do mention it in the gameplay, I think, is that, so the reason why you don't take your team and I'm just going to move the characters, it doesn't have to be these guys. The reason why you don't stack them here is because when someone does, if they go in and they go up here and they climb up and they go over and they go around all the way around, which is available to them to do, I mean, even if this dude has to, if he gets over, this is like a check mark, you know, this is like a checkpoint. He can go all the way back here. He can get this mega that's on here. He can come all the way back around. He can take his damn time because it's just very strong to do this. And then the second that he touches this point, the other team is going to like freak out. They're going to be like, oh no, we got to, you know, or they're going to have to, even if they don't go in this direction, they're going to have to turn their head. Someone on their team is going to have to turn and look at this. If it's Lucio, then you know what I mean. Maybe they 1v1. You do not want your Lucio against a pro Genji player. He will just shred he'll just shred it to pieces. You know. So my point being is now you've got a whole entire group that has to look this way and look this way, and that is why you don't want to put yourself in this position, and that's why you work around stuff like this, because they allow you to look at the objective, which is here, and fight the enemy team in a relative manner where your head is only on a swivel, you know, slightly, or not even at times, you know. So it's just a really important concept that I don't think I necessarily touched in the video well enough, but maybe I'll clip this and put it in there because I do find it important. Because it doesn't just apply to here, it also applies to like the King of the Hill maps where you want to take an objective that way and all that kind of stuff too. So and the payload maps as well and all that stuff. It's a very overarching concept that is left out in a lot of players' strategy when they decide to play. We'll try Torque here. Might be a little low on the DPS side, but how am I getting there in time? I'm late. I was talking about what I was talking about.
4, 3,
yeah, and definitely late.
1. Attackers
Oh shit!
Defend objective A.
I didn't. Damn. For some reason, I thought we had 2 healers. That's actually my bad. I wasn't intentionally trying to do 3 DPS. Check out this spot though. It doesn't apply much forward pressure, but really what you're trying to do here is just defend the point, right? So when do you want that turret to come in? When do you want the enemy team to know about it? When they're in the middle of fighting a bunch of people and they can't do much. Where do you want it to be? Covering the point, yeah. A lot of teams here, they try to do what the enemy team's doing right now. They try to go in on that side. And I'll show you right here, this angle. This is why you don't push a team through that corridor. I mean, you could emulate this with a Bastion or some type of conversation like that. Steve is actually the most annoying thing right now. Oh, I died. I think that was just from us having lack of heals, but the basic concept is there. You can see what I'm talking about, and how not just having a torp turret there, but also just the efficiency of that spot. And you know, why don't you just go ahead and put in a Orisa there, and then have your off tank touch the point with your healers boosting them and keeping that guy alive. There's a lot more to the way that.
No one can hide from the Thanks.
Come to me.
Such potential.
What I can do too is if I want to, I can just play a little more defensively here. I've been enjoying playing characters in Apex. I've been considering doing this too. Playing characters that can emulate 2 players, because a lot of the gaming universe does not consider positioning as much as they might need to really be successful.
Time to let off some steam.
Double. 60 seconds remaining.
Show them
from a Wither.
Well met, friend.
Team up for special attack.
I'm on fire!
Keep your head and let's take this home.
Hello? You're making a kicking out of a feather.
Just interesting stuff, you know. I mean, there's so much that I want to dive into for this game. A lot of them are larger, overarching ideas like that are just not being considered, you know. Oh, that shot, that was nice. They're probably so upset about this turret. It's just constantly hitting them, and that's what Torb should be doing, you know. Definitely not always the best pick, right? But he is a very good defensive hero. I don't know if you guys remember, but a long time ago in Overwatch they had offensive, and they broke the attack heroes, or whatever, the damage dealing heroes. They broke them into offense and defense, and those characters that were designed for defense were actually designed for defense, and that's why. It's because the shape of the map is built for them, and that's. It's funny because when Overwatch came out, it's almost like the community did not play the game the same way that the developers had built the game